You ever just look around and think about how addicted we are to cheap stuff? I mean, not just a good deal, but insanely cheap. We're talking clothes that cost less than your lunch, gadgets that are cheaper than a movie ticket, and it feels great, right? Like you're winning. But, well, that's kind of the illusion.
And that's the paradox we're going to dig into today. We're looking at a massive global trap, one that wasn't built with tanks or missiles, but with factories and cargo ships. A trap that wasn't designed to destroy, but to make the world dependent.
So, how did this happen? How did pretty much the entire world become so reliant on one single country for the stuff we use every single day? And what's the real, hidden price tag on something that seems too good to be true?
To really get what's going on, you have to understand the strategy behind it all. This story starts with China making a very deliberate, very strategic decision decades ago to become the world's manufacturer. This wasn't an accident, it was a plan. Just look at this timeline here. Back in the 80s, you see this huge strategic shift to put production above everything else. Then, by the 90s, Western companies, chasing those lower costs for their shareholders, they just rushed in. And by the 2000s, boom, the deal was done. China became, without a doubt, the factory of the world. So how'd they pull it off? Well, it was a formula that companies just couldn't say no to. You had a huge workforce with low labor costs, factories backed by the state, basically no unions, and very few regulations. You put all that together, you get prices so low that nobody else could even come close. It was an offer the world simply couldn't refuse. But here's the thing, right? There's always a flip side. And the flip side of this massive global shift was the slow, quiet decay of local industries in other countries. See, when a nation stops building and only starts buying, it loses something really important. And here's where it gets real, the human cost. Let's just take the US as an example. In the year 2000, there were over 17 million manufacturing jobs. Today, it's down to around 12 million. That's 5 million jobs that didn't just vanish, they moved. This is what you hear people call the hollowing out of the middle class. And it's not just a number on a chart. It's closed factories, it's struggling towns, and it's a wave of political anger that has completely reshaped countries. You see, China wasn't just exporting products and shipping containers. The real export was dependency. Once your country's own industries start to collapse, you're not a trading partner anymore, you're a customer. You've outsourced more than just jobs, you've outsourced a piece of your own economic freedom. Okay, let's try to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this. Think about shoes for a second. Tons of countries used to make their own. Today, over 60% of all the shoes in the world come from one single place.
What about toys? Oh, it's even more dramatic. Almost 80% of the entire global toy market is made in China. We're talking whole industries, whole categories of products that now have one single point of origin. And hey, it's not just plastic toys. Look at this, smartphones, the technology we carry around with us every single day. Over 90% are put together there. When you control the manufacturing of a technology that is this critical, well, that gives you an immense amount of strategic power.
So this manufacturing dominance, it was just step one. China then did something brilliant. It took all the wealth and all the know-how it gained from being the world's factory, and it reinvested it. It started a second transformation, moving from just building other people's stuff to designing, engineering, and owning its own.
And this slide, this shows you exactly what that looks like. We're talking about the absolute foundational technologies for the next 100 years. China now controls over 80% of the solar panel supply chain, about 70% of advanced battery production. It refines most of the world's rare earth minerals. Think of those like the essential vitamins for all our tech. You literally can't make a smartphone, an electric car, or a wind turbine without them. This isn't about cheap toys anymore. This is about owning the future.
For decades, this dependency was just kind of growing quietly in the background. And then the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and the world got a brutal, shocking reminder of what happens when your entire global supply chain has a single point of failure.
Remember that? The empty shelves? When the factories in China shut down, the rest of the world suddenly ran out of, well, everything. Not just complicated stuff like microchips for cars, but the basics, like medical masks and gloves. That abstract risk of dependency suddenly became a very real, very scary problem.
And I think a huge lesson was learned, one that a lot of nations had kind of forgotten. Real sovereignty, true independence, isn't just about having a big army. It's about being able to make the things your own people need to survive.
So the world is now at a turning point. After decades of putting low prices above everything else, nations are facing a really fundamental choice. Do they keep just buying? Or do they pay the price to learn how to build again?
But rebuilding is so much easier said than done. As this shows, you can restart a factory. That's the simple part. What's way harder is rebuilding the whole ecosystem of skills and expertise that was lost over the years. And the hardest part of all, rebuilding a culture that thinks long-term, that values making things, not just buying them. So the real trap here was never about China's success. I mean, that's a story of incredible strategic planning. The trap is the world's dependency. It's not really about the danger of cheap goods, it's about the danger of cheap thinking, of always choosing the short-term savings over long-term security.
The next time you see a product and think, wow, that's too cheap to be true, just remember that someone somewhere is paying the actual price. But the ultimate cost isn't paid with money. It's paid with independence. And the question for all of us now is, what choice gets made next?